Stark's legacy.
Bigger than Pym, right? Bigger than Stark.
Yeah.
I want to continue Mr. Stark's legacy. Do you think Tony Stark would be Tony Stark if he wasn't a billionaire? I'm here because I can be the greatest inventor of my generation.
Tony Stark was born into extreme wealth. He had access to nearly unlimited resources, elite education, and global influence. However, his origin as Iron Man does not begin with his privilege. It begins when that privilege is taken from him.
And when you're done, he will set you free.
No, he won't.
No, he won't.
Riri Williams is positioned as someone with less privilege. A black teenager from Chicago, she is shown to lack financial resources and institutional support. But wait, didn't she go the famous Stark Fellowship presented in Captain America: Civil War?
Tony Stark Fellowship at that MIT school.
Yeah.
Wait.
Wasn't a billionaire?
So she had clear advantages. Accepted into MIT at 15, given a customized curriculum tailored to her needs, awarded a Stark Fellowship, and connected to Wakanda through Shuri. Yet, despite all these extraordinary opportunities, she chose a very different path from Tony Stark. It seems she was more interested in recognition than responsibility, choosing a different direction entirely. Tony's arc is strengthened by the loss of privilege. He is forced to build from scraps and survive with limited tools while under constant surveillance. This forces him to think creatively and reevaluate his legacy. Riri, despite having access to advanced materials and institutional support, complains that others are keeping her small.
You want me to be small?
This claim is directly challenged by the dean of MIT, who explains that the institution tailored an entire program to protect her potential. The contrast between Tony's forced deprivation and Riri's perceived victimhood undercuts the credibility of her struggle.
I need cash. Money. Do you think Tony Stark would be Tony Stark if he wasn't a billionaire?
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scrap!
Tony Stark is established early on as a genius-level inventor and engineer. He graduated MIT at age 17 and developed revolutionary military technology, including the Jericho missile and the arc reactor. His intelligence is not simply stated, it is shown through action. In captivity, with limited resources, he miniaturizes the arc reactor, an advanced clean energy source, and uses it to power the first Iron Man suit.
3 gigajoules per second.
But wait, did Riri Williams build an arc reactor? One of the most glaring omissions in Ironheart is the absence of any power source equivalent to Tony Stark's arc reactor. The arc reactor was one of the most critical innovations in the Iron Man story. It evolved across multiple films, adapting to more complex energy demands like flight stabilization, advanced weapon systems, and sustained combat use. Its development represented both technological genius and narrative progression. In contrast, Riri powers her suit using solar and wind energy, right from the first episode. No explanation is provided for how such limited energy sources can support high-speed flight, shielding, or advanced targeting systems. This simplification leaves a major gap in the show's internal logic. It also unintentionally undermines Tony's legacy.
Destroy it. Incinerate it.
If a teenager with basic lab access can create a clean energy iron suit in her spare time, what does that say about the decades of research, innovation, and sacrifice behind Stark's arc reactor? Tony's intellect is also a double-edged sword. It feeds his arrogance and moral detachment, especially in the early part of his arc. He believes he is untouchable. However, his intelligence is not glorified without consequence. When he realizes that his weapons are being used by terrorists and that he is responsible for mass suffering, he experiences moral dissonance. He responds not by denying his culpability, but by redesigning his life's purpose. His genius is integrated into his development. It drives both his downfall and his redemption. Riri Williams is repeatedly described as a genius.
I heard Riri Williams was a genius.
Characters in Ironheart and related media often say she is the smartest person in the room. But these assertions are rarely supported by her actions.
I'm only doing this because I have to. Not because I'm a bad person.
You're joking, right?
About that. Thinking about it, Riri Williams built her suit before many of the excuses she later gives for turning to crime. She already had a working prototype while at MIT. She didn't need to break laws to create the suit. The original version was already built while she was still at MIT. After using it and damaging it during her escape, the suit was destroyed. But instead of stopping there, she rebuilt it once more, this time using scrap materials from her bedroom. And again, the rebuilt suit wasn't used for rescue, research, or innovation. It was used to commit crimes, evade law enforcement, and make deals with dangerous individuals. Tony Stark begins his journey as a war profiteer. He manufactures weapons under the belief that a stronger arsenal guarantees peace. His moral framework is utilitarian but shallow. This worldview collapses when he is captured and forced to see the human cost of his inventions firsthand. The pivotal moment is his realization that his weapons, created to protect, are being used to harm civilians and destabilize regions. Upon returning home, he immediately shuts down his company's weapons division. This act of self-sabotage costs him billions and threatens his position as CEO, but he does it because it's right, not because it's safe. Tony's growth is marked by his increasing sense of responsibility.
I'm being responsible. That's a new direction.
He takes personal accountability for the unintended consequences of his work. When criticized, he either defends his rationale with reason or adapts when proven wrong. In Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, and Civil War, we see Tony wrestling with questions of authority, autonomy, and guilt. His decisions, like signing the Sokovia Accords or mentoring Peter Parker, reflect his struggle to balance personal freedom with public accountability. His moral compass, though imperfect, is active and evolving.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it.
Let's see what happened to Riri. Did she take responsibility for her actions?
You're just a selfish kid who can't take any responsibility for herself.
No. Apparently, her sense of responsibility didn't hold up very well. Ezekiel Stane is a critical example. Yes, Ezekiel Stane, son of Obadiah Stane, the same man who tried to kill Tony Stark. Unlike his father, Ezekiel repeatedly states that he wants to distance himself from that legacy and become a better person. But thanks to Riri's manipulation, threats, and bad influence, things don't go well for him. She uses him to obtain technology, then leaves it at a crime scene, an action that leads to his arrest and eventual transformation into a mind-controlled cyborg. She expresses no remorse or acknowledgement of her role in that outcome, just a vague, "I'm willing to get you out," with no plan at all. And only minutes later, she's already moved on to other priorities. Even when she sees the consequences firsthand, the show does not make her wrestle with her guilt in a meaningful way. Instead, she is portrayed as justified because she had no choice, a narrative shield that exempts her from the kind of introspection Tony is repeatedly forced into. Tony's responsibility extends beyond guilt. He consistently puts himself at risk to protect others. Whether it's flying into a wormhole in the Avengers, confronting Obadiah Stane with a dying reactor, or volunteering to die in Endgame, he is willing to face consequences. Riri, however, often places others in harm's way without forethought, then shifts blame when outcomes go poorly. The failure to make her reckon with these actions weakens the moral foundation of her character. Riri gives conflicting reasons for why she builds her suit. Initially, she claims she wants to help first responders and revolutionize public safety. This is a compelling motive that aligns with heroism and societal benefit. However, the series quickly contradicts this by showing Riri say that she built the suit to build something iconic and to stand out. At another point, she claims she made it simply because she could. Why do you insist on building your own death trap? Because I can. These shifting motives create a muddled justification for her actions, making it unclear what truly drives her. The problem is not that her reasons evolve. It's that they are incoherent and unearned. When challenged on the consequences of her suit, Riri often deflects or minimizes the issue. Her motivations lack the emotional weight or ethical foundation seen in Tony's. Even her ultimate admission that she built the suit because she felt powerless after losing loved ones could be powerful if it were properly explored. Instead, this implication once again arrives late and is inconsistent with her prior statements and actions. Artificial intelligence. I wish the differences ended there. And while I have nothing against N.a.t.a.l.i.e, who is a sweet and clever teenage replica, the truth is she causes more problems than she solves. Everything about her creation and role in the story feels oversimplified and minimized. The construction of J.A.R.V.I.S is treated with weight and realism. It reflects years of research, iteration, and fine-tuning by one of the world's most intelligent engineers. Even then, Tony understood the risks. When J.A.R.V.I.S was later uploaded into Vision's synthetic body, it triggered one of the MCU's biggest moral dilemmas, demonstrating that Tony's own creation could become something far beyond his control. In Ironheart, Riri creates an AI by connecting her brain to a computer, literally overnight. The result is a fully functional, emotionally responsive digital replica of her dead friend. This AI doesn't just offer voice responses or logic assistance. It speaks like a teenager, holds conversations, argues, and even shows emotional manipulation. In short, Riri manages to create a sentient, personality-driven AI by accident on her laptop with no explanation of how it's even possible. Hey, but that's not the only thing that magically appears in the narrative. Suddenly, a shift in tone and genre takes over the narrative. Again, because... Anyway, what begins as a grounded, tech-driven superhero story centered on engineering, personal loss, and innovation abruptly transforms into something closer to magical fantasy, complete with potions, interdimensional travel, enchanted artifacts, and supernatural beings. It's a hard turn from engineering and science fiction to something closer in tone to Harry Potter.
Harry Potter? Such a...
Never mind.
Complete with ancient magic systems and cryptic metaphysics. This pivot sets the stage for the appearance of a major new figure, a supernatural entity that walks, talks, and acts like the devil himself. We'll come back to him in a moment because one of the central characters in Ironheart is the Hood. Real name, Parker Robbins. In the comics and in the series, the Hood is a street-level criminal who comes into possession of a mystical red cloak. This cloak grants him enhanced strength, teleportation abilities, and magical powers, placing him somewhere between a sorcerer and a supervillain. The Hood's abilities are rooted in dark magic. And here we are, back to the bearded guy. As the story unfolds, we learn that the Hood's cloak is not just magical, it's cursed. It was given to him by a much more powerful force, Mephisto. And with that gift comes a cost. Mephisto maintains influence over Parker's mind, slowly corrupting him and twisting his emotions. Parker starts as a man with understandable motives, someone looking for protection and power in a dangerous world. But under Mephisto's control, he becomes unstable, unpredictable, and dangerous. His mental state deteriorates, showing that this power comes with psychological and moral decay. By the final episodes of the first season, the narrative enters full supernatural territory. And then, Mephisto approaches Riri directly. He offers her the one thing she's struggled to accept: the chance to bring her dead friend N.a.t.a.l.i.e back. At this point, it's not entirely clear where the story is heading. But what is clear is that Mephisto is being positioned as a major force moving forward. He's not just manipulating Parker, he's now targeting Riri. The same girl who claimed she wanted to help people with science is now being tempted to partner with a demonic entity in exchange for resurrecting a loved one. The core reason why Iron Man continues to inspire while Ironheart struggles to resonate should now be clear. Tony Stark's journey is defined by sacrifice. He begins as a man who builds weapons for profit, but evolves into someone who dedicates his mind, body, and life to protecting others. His genius is never just a tool for personal gain, it becomes a responsibility. Every advancement, every upgrade, every battle is rooted in a larger pursuit of redemption and service. And in the end, he gives up everything, not just his wealth or status, but his life, to ensure a better future for the people he loves. Riri, instead, seems like a confused teenager with power far greater than what she can control. She claims oppression, while having more access and opportunity than most. And instead of being tempered by humility or consequence, she's pushed deeper into a path shaped by power, ego, and detachment from responsibility. The season finale ends with the return of her best friend, a subtle but telling sign that Riri may have accepted Mephisto's offer. It suggests that her choices were motivated by pain, a desire to escape accountability, and the need for control. She doesn't build the suit to protect others, but to feel significant.
Without that suit, I can't.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it.
If you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed the breakdown. Like and subscribe if you want to channel your inner Iron Man. And check out this video to dive deeper into Mephisto and Marvel's most unsettling characters, or explore every Iron Man suit ever made. See you next time!